Have you ever watched someone fall in love? Their outlook becomes rosier. They smile more. They're more pleasant to be around. I've been fortunate to see friends in my life fall in love, and when it happens, it makes me happy. In this week's sketchbook, I want to talk about when a friend of mine met someone special. I'm Michael Laron, and this is the Writer's Journey podcast, where you get a window into the life of a working science fiction and fantasy author. I'm on a mission to go from nobody to bestseller, and I'm documenting every step of the way. Tune in every week as I share my progress and discover what inspires my books and how I write them. You can find the show notes for today's episode at michaellaron.com/podcast. This week, I'm reading a page from my writer's sketchbook. Hello and welcome to episode 27. 27 is a lovely number. A number of love. Okay, maybe I'm making that up, but this is definitely an episode with a flair of romance and infatuation. I wanted to talk this week about a friend who met a very special woman. He met her when he was in college, and he was completely infatuated with her. I was in college in Des Moines, Iowa, and he was in school in St. Louis, Missouri, and I visited him throughout the summer, and we'd hang out, usually in the form of driving through the scenic streets of St. Louis and listening to jazz. And I remember him telling me about her. My friend, who was usually pretty even-keeled about things, was excited. To this day, I'll never forget the enthusiasm in his voice. What's even crazier is that I was driving when he told me the story. So usually my memory is crap when I'm multitasking, but I remembered all of his words crystal clear. It was a rainy evening in St. Louis, and we were stuck in crazy traffic. So while we were fighting traffic and listening to some jazz, he told me this woman's story. It affected me so much that I went home later that night and I wrote the story down in my sketchbook. This was back in 2008, I think. There are a few times in a writer's career when you realize that you're experiencing something special that will end up in a book one day. This was one of those times. Now, I've changed the woman's name and some key details, but what follows for the most part is pretty much exactly what my friend told me. Regina has cream-colored skin, like chai tea. Her skin matches her personality. Thick lips, but not too thick. Bluish-green eyes whose color you can't quite pin to blue or green. Eyes that leave you dumbstruck in conversation when it's your time to speak. She likes to drink for the taste of alcohol, not for the drunkenness. She prefers gin to vodka, rum to whiskey, and she adores flavored drinks and amarettos. She was born in Guyana. She's half Lebanese and half Chinese, and she went to school in Holland. She speaks English, Dutch, French, and German, maybe Farsi and Arabic too. We were in a bookstore and I was looking at this art book, Oil Paintings of Scottish Castles. "What are you reading?" she asked. "An art book," I said. She snatched the book out of my hands and started thumbing through the pages. "I love art," she said. I mentioned that I listened to flamenco music and her eyes grew wide. She was the only person on the trip who liked flamenco too. I don't know if she was saying all these things because they were true or because she liked me. I don't want her changing her opinion because of me. I want to know who she really is, you know? No need to put on any shows for me. I captured the conversation and I filed it away. I forgot about it. My friend only saw the woman a few more times before she ended up traveling away. He moved on, she moved on, and time just happens, right? Nearly a decade later, when I was writing my book, Be a Writing Machine, I was describing in a particular chapter in the book how I keep a sketchbook, and I had an idea to share some examples with readers. And I have thousands of different entries in my sketchbook, bits and pieces that I've captured over the years, and I found the conversation again for the first time in 10 years, and it brought a smile to my face. I told my friend about it nearly 10 years later, and he'd forgotten about her too. Funny how life goes on. But he was floored when I read the entry to him. He couldn't believe how good my memory was, and it made him smile. And it was a reminder to me of how cool that moment was for the both of us. Him living it at the time, and me hearing him retell it. That's what I love about being a writer. When you capture someone on the page in true color, it moves people in many ways. It becomes permanent art that lasts forever. Even if it just affects one person, it was worth it. thanks for joining me this week. If you enjoyed the show, here are a couple ways to help a brother out. If you're listening to this on Anchor, favorite the show. If you're listening to this on a podcast app, do me a favor and write me a review and share it with your friends. You can, of course, visit my website and learn more about my work at michaellaron.com. If you have a question, send me a voice message on Anchor and you just might hear it on the show. Next week, I'll be going behind the scenes of my writing process. Until then, I leave you with a quote. Memory is the diary that we all carry about us. Oscar Wilde.